I was given the path to your success and world peace. Because what you discover is that that's the same path. Because you were born into the world to become something wonderful, which means that you will evolve, and you evolve and ascend to higher states of understanding and consciousness. And when you do that, the world would do the same thing. And the more of us who will do that, then we have really great lives and we see a world that we want to see. But the only problem will be you won't believe yourself. I didn't believe myself either. And that's what happens. There are times in our civilization, in our society, where things change that we don't fully understand. But then somehow there are certain people who come around and give you information that says this is how it happens. But then there are other times where we don't believe ourselves and we hold ourselves back. We all do that. And I have done that. So it's not a time for us to do that because of where the world is now, where it's changing. I'm saying that because I know that you are alive now because you've got something really great that you want to do. And if you were to do that, we wouldn't see the strife and the horrible things that are happening in the world right now that you might see that way. I see it completely differently, though. I know that you're here to do something wonderful, and that's why it looks this way. And if you were to do something wonderful, you start to expand and evolve and heal and prosper, and you have everything that you want. And I absolutely know that is true, and I'm going to show it to you now. But this is my second message for today because it's November 25th, and they gave me so much information to give you today because we're moving through another energetic portal. But if you go to my YouTube channel, and if you subscribe there and see any of the videos I've done in the last few weeks, your brain will change because you'll see all of the information. Everything is about our consciousness. We change our consciousness by how we choose to think and what we have access to. If we don't have the information, how can we do anything with it? If we don't know how to get to the next level of who we are, how can we do anything? And I'm saying this because I didn't do that. And this is kind of me telling everyone, including everyone who has followed me, and all of my family and friends, and everyone where I've ever done an interview, or where I went to Gaia, whoever it might be. I didn't know I had this. I'm saying this because none of us do. We're never done. Whatever you were meant to do in your life is still in front of you, because it's a potential that has to be fulfilled, and everything is energy, and you have control of the energy. But the other part of it, we don't always understand that we have also been programmed. But we had to be. Because if we don't know we can do something more in our lives, how could we feel that our lives made a difference or that we mattered? But see, I know that every life matters, and every person born has something within them, and that's what I discovered. And that was probably the most shocking thing for me because it also stopped me from moving forward in my life, as your discovery might do that. Because we will look at something, you say, that's too big, I can't be me, I couldn't possibly do that. That's the difficulty that we have as individuals. That's also the same difficulty that we have as a collective society in our world. And I can sit and say, I was given the solution to your success and world peace because they would end up in the same place. And I will also say the only difficulty will be you won't believe it, just as I didn't believe it. But it keeps being shown to me now, and it'll be shown to you. And then you will start to do something wonderful, and then you will be the one that will change our world. Let me read this message to you first, and then I'll explain a little bit more. I'm going to be documenting all of this because it's going to be wonderful information for everyone to have, for our world to have, because I couldn't explain it, just as you can't explain the new thing that is within you that you're meant to develop and bring into the world. November 25th, 2019. Awareness is not awareness if it is not known. We will now decipher that riddle for you. This morning we placed a video in front of Roger that he stared at for a bit before he gathered the courage to watch. On an intuitive level, he knew we were about to give him something that would rock his world, as we hope it will for the rest of you. You were born into the world with limited awareness for a reason. You intended to discover awareness so you might interpret it in your own way and add to the evolution of all that is. None of you really believe that you are doing this, or more importantly, don't think you possess the ability to affect the world at large. And that is where you all have been mistaken. Rogers often stumbled upon information he didn't understand why he was brought there, and other information, specifically science, he mysteriously ignored. Roger found it fascinating that his family is intrigued by the study of science and space. Recently, Roger has found himself studying more scientific research and finding that it validates much of his intuitive knowing. Roger has never trusted his knowing and made a requirement of himself that he would only speak on things when he found something that bolstered his belief in himself, and his self-belief was fragile, as it is in many of you. The video this morning led Roger to Hermeticism. Look it up. Which was brought into the world centuries ago. But Roger found the basis of his beliefs there. Then we had him hear Steve Jobs reiterate this understanding. The entire experience caused Roger to believe in himself more now with his new awareness. Now you will understand the subject of this message, Wilhelm. I believe the Steve Jobs, he did something. He said he always wanted to make things user-friendly from the consumer standpoint, basically, and that always sat with me because I knew that I had developed something that from the consumer that it would make their lives so much better. But I held back as well because it was so different and it came about in a way that didn't make sense. How could I have sat down and since 1989 and received information that turned into a philosophy that healed my life? Well, it did, because you start to understand science. Emotions are energy. And so if you're walking around your entire life and you're angry at yourself or others, then you're going to have some effects on your body. But you also may have generational trauma. See, and then now you're not aware that you're carrying around things that didn't belong to you, that you inherited from someone else. Because we start to understand there's consciousness and there's a collective consciousness which we all partake in, meaning that we will accept certain things because we were taught that. If you were taught that you weren't, worthy as a child, you keep carrying that forth until you start to change your brain. And we discovered over time, because certain people made research discoveries that, we have neuroscience. You mean we can change our brains and think differently, and then we will operate differently because we understood the connection between our thoughts and movement, and how that was, go back to Tesla, go back to Einstein, but all of them, and just put them together. And guess what Wilhelm told me? They put all that together for me, and that's why this worked, and that's why it healed my life. Now, but it also held me back because it was really kind of frightening. I'm changing that now because sometimes you will surprise yourself by what comes up for you and what you discover you can achieve. But you only live a certain amount of time. I'm 74. I'm finishing this now, and you will hear in some of the recent videos that I put out there. There was one that I did, and I'll leave a link here, one from a year ago, then 2 years ago, where Wilhelm kept telling me, write the book, Roger, finish your book, because they gave me a philosophy called Your Life Operating Instructions. And what that said was our world wasn't going in the way that would really be conducive for sustaining itself. They kept saying if you ever came to a Wilhelm, if you ever attended a Wilhelm channeling session, you would hear them say all the time, please stop burning down your planet. But then we will look at that and say, no, that's not happening. We have nothing to do with that. That's because we don't understand our importance in the universe, and we don't understand science, or at least we don't understand and haven't gotten to understand quantum sciences, because that's how we can change everything. And then what starts to happen, you start to notice things in an entirely new way. You start to notice time in a different way. That's, yeah, when they were talking about me studying things, I was going back and looking at Newton and all of these things because I couldn't understand how I was receiving information from years ago that only is making sense now. But see, consciousness is always evolving, but it's always here, which was the very first message I received on January 1st of 2012 when this work came about. It said infinite intelligence. We all have it. We won't always access it, and that's for other reasons that you may just be blocking yourself, because we all do that. But I'm saying that you can accomplish anything. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm finishing all of this. I'm saying this because I've talked about this for so long, where I've only put up a portion of my work. It's been 35 years of putting this together, but I've only done a portion. But we're at a place now where we're going to keep moving through energetic changes, and I do understand those. And the way that you move through them is that you start to understand yourself and love yourself. That's the most important job. Everything that we have moved through in the world, what you're seeing now, especially if you're in the United States, is about energy. And the energy is only within you. So if you decide that you're going to love yourself and let go of all the old stuff, then you're going to have a great life and you'll contribute to creating the better world. But if you're going to stay where you were and keep holding on to your grievances, then things don't work out really well for you or the world. And you'll hear in the video that I just put up again from a channeling session, they were saying, this was years ago, they said the wars that you're seeing in Gaza and in Israel, that's been centuries old, but you keep doing it because you haven't let go of your grievances. Grievances only exist in our consciousness as an individual or as a collective consciousness. And so when you decide that you move through those, you heal. And I can demonstrate it because every illness that I've had since the day I was born are now gone because of this information. I will never have you believe that because that might not be your role, but I do know that I have to finish it now so I can give it to others because I want to see a very different world and I want to see a lot of people happy because that's what happens. If I can tell you how long I stayed depressed and how long I suffered with chronic illnesses and diseases and all of that are now gone, but I'm not telling you about it because that message said it doesn't matter if you've done it if it's not known. So now I'm getting it known to everyone. So I'm going to be speaking to bigger groups now and other marketers because I need to have this put together and give it to more people. And then eventually, as I've talked about many years ago, I'm going to retire from doing what I'm doing now and just working in a very much smaller way and developing and finishing all of this work because I will leave this philosophy because I know that it will change the world. And if you think, everything was revealed to me about why we were having trouble now. It's all energetic. It's all of us not willing to let go of something or being afraid or not willing to love ourselves. All of those have been, I've talked about, I've written them over all of these years. And I also did something special for you in my YouTube channel. If you look at the descriptions in the last couple of weeks, I put a whole bunch of them there. So you can just kind of read through them and you'll see when you have some free time, just read through them. You will see that you will feel better and your brain will change and you'll like yourself so much more. That is the process we each move through in our lives, but we just have different paths, but yours is valuable. I know that. That's why I started doing private channeling as well, because I can answer any question. And as you listen to some of the previous sessions, Wilhelm sessions, you'll know that for yourself. The fact is, I know that you exist in the world now to do something great. And when you do that, that's an energetic change that's going to happen within you and also in our world. If we don't do that, we, as Wilhelm said, we will not have the world that we want. Because in those sessions, they would say all the time, and if you go back and listen to them, you'll hear it. He said, the world you want to see is not guaranteed. That means that you have to own yourself to start to manifest the world you want to have, and it's always going to come about through love. There's never been anything that's sustained in our world or been created when we are using hate and anger. It doesn't happen. Because that's also science. When you understand the quality of emotion, you will see why you've been sick so much or why you've been angry. I've given you all of that, but now I'm going to put it together for everyone to have because I know that you can live this great life. We can have this wonderful world because I was given that pathway. See you soon.